What is going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you week 12 of season 2 of the APA Academy, and this week is the final week of the APA, and thus will be my very last week of having to use my 3DS. Have to say, I am super excited to have that over with. I mean, it's the end of an era, but it was an era, let's just put it that way. But either way, we have our final game against JB Westside and his Arkansas Razorwinds. And before I get into the team in the battle, just a reminder that if you guys like this video, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button, as it helps us out a ton and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. And also thank you once again, Danza, for recording my game. This will be the last game that he will have to record for me. Sorry, in case you guys haven't noticed, I am just super excited to be done using my 3DS, but nonetheless, JB's team is very terrifying. His full roster is Mega Mewtwo Y, Kyurem Black, Keldeo, Tyranitar, Vaporeon, Gardevoir Fortress, Tornadus, Rotom Mow, Magnezone, Typhlosion, and Torterra. And I mean, at this point, both of us are out of playoffs, so we just decided to do this, I believe, 2 weeks early. We were thinking that, you know what, let's finish our seasons. We are both done. This way we don't have to worry about anything. And so we just decided, why the heck not? And the team that I am bringing is just a very straightforward Trick Room team. I have the Omastar there just because I had this plan that I wanted to use every single Mon on my team at least once in the, well, at least once throughout the season. I kind of sort of realized that I forgot Serena on this team, but the game is over anyway, so yeah, no use going back. But either way, Omastar was something that I had not brought yet, so I was like, screw it, let's just bring a lead Omastar and just go with hyper offensive Trick Room with a Hazard lead Omastar, and then just Trick Room abusers with the rest of the team. And with his team, I'm noticing that he did not bring his Mega Mewtwo Y, which is like, that's kind of interesting, but given the threats that I do have, it's not overly surprising. I mean, to be fair, Mega Mewtwo Y is one of those mons, in my opinion, that should be brought every single time, but I mean, that's just my opinion. And given this matchup, considering I do have things like Dialga, Necrozma, Mega Mawile, I just have a lot of things that can threaten it, particularly under Trick Room. It's not the biggest surprise in the world that he decided not wow, excuse me, that he decided not to bring it. Wow, I was like, I was just choking on something for a second, my bad. But yeah, either way, that is the team. I'm just going to lead off with my Omastar, try to get my Toxic Spikes up, in particular against his team, and let's just go ahead and hop right on in to the battle. So with the Omastar lead on my end, the only thing on his team that really scares me right off the bat based on what he brought would be the Keldeo. Everything else I would be able to get potentially 2 layers of hazards off, but unfortunately that's exactly what he leads with. He does lead with Keldeo, and I'm like, ah crap, well this thing might Calm Mind. Well, I have Haze and Ring Out, but when I'm looking at my Omastar, I'm realizing, I don't have Ring Out. I changed it, I tried to change it at least, from Ancient Power to Ring Out last minute, just because of the Keldeo lead. That way he wouldn't be able to sub up on me, but alas, I apparently just screwed up something once again with the genning, and I don't have Ring Out. Luckily for me, he is not a sub variant, so I am able to get my Toxic Spikes up, as Keldeo does kill me. The Secret Sword reveals that he is not boosting in his item in any way, but nonetheless, this does give me the option to go straight into my Necrozma, set up the Trick Room, and with the Toxic Spikes up, I might be able to actually do a decent chunk of damage to his team. He goes immediately into his Tyranitar, and this is a Pinchberry Necrozma with a completely physical moveset. I opted for just, I believe it's Brick Break, Photon Geyser, and there was one last move. I forget whatever the last move was, but oh, I think it was Knockoff. There we go, that's what it was. It was Photon Geyser, Brick Break, and Knockoff, and a completely physical Necrozma with a Pinchberry. So I am just going to go for the Trick Room into the Brick Break on the Tyranitar, knowing that there's nothing, I mean, potentially a Bandage Crunch could knock me out, but I'm thinking that based on his team, T-Tar would not necessarily be banded, as Kyurem and Keldeo would more than likely be the choice users, along with Gardevoir before T-Tar would, as he does just get his rocks up. He is the Choppleberry, but this does allow me on this turn to go for a second Brick Break and knock out this Tyranitar, as my Necrozma still is at a very good amount of HP. I don't think there is anything he can immediately go into that wouldn't just straight up die. I mean, potentially the Kyurem, if he goes for a Z move, would be able to knock me out, but then again, I'm realizing I don't know what his Z-mons are, but he goes into his Vaporeon. I'm like, okay, this is perfect. I'll just go for my Photon Geyser, and it will not quite be able to 3-hit KO, or it will be able to 3-hit KO, it won't quite be able to 2-hit KO with the Poison and the Sand, and as you'll see, he's going to go for the Scald. It does end up critting me. At first I saw that, I was like, wow, that's a very strong Vaporeon, but it was a crit, so, I mean, it's not the end of the world, and fortunately for me, this does put me a little bit lower, but because of the damage that I did early on with, or that I did just now with Photon Geyser, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I will be able to just go for another Photon Geyser. It won't quite knock him out. I mean, the Sand should run out, so potentially he will be out of range of the Poison, but unfortunately that's not the case, and yeah, Sand ends, so I'm not able to get my berry, which is kind of like, well, that was kind of a situation that just worked out all sorts of bad for me. It worked out in the one way that wouldn't allow me to get up another Trick Room, but he is just going to go into his Torterra. I'm like, this has to be an offensive Torterra to KO me, as he actually ends up being an offensive Torterra with Crunch. So I'm like, oh, well, that's something. But either way, with Torterra in, I am going to go straight into my Mawile. My Mawile is relatively bulky. It's able to take on Kyurem pretty well with Intimidate, but also just its good typing, its good ability. I will be able to take any hit from his Torterra, barring a Z ground, even an Adamant Max Attack Earthquake, I will be able to take from Torterra, and we know that if he is choice banded, he is not. He is locked into Crunch, so yeah, my Mawile comes in, it's going to be able to chew up that Earthquake really, really easily, and I thought about going for Sub as I am a Sub Punch variant, but I decided to ultimately just go for the Play Rough, maybe catch something on the switch, as it actually ends up doing enough damage to where Torterra is knocked out by the Poison, so my Omastar actually picks up a KO, and Omastar's Toxic Spikes are doing incredible damage at this point in the game. But right now he's going to go into his Keldeo. I'm ready to sack off my Mawile. I know it's not going to do a whole lot, and I can go into my Dialga, who has a Chople Berry, and I will be able to take whatever hit the Keldeo goes for. I will be able to Trick Room up, and at this point in the game, Dialga looks like it should be able to actually clean up his team with the Dragon Claw set that I am, being able to avoid a Calm Mind Keldeo as I Sucker Punch, get some good damage. He misses the Hydro Pump, which is big. I mean, yeah, it's very big. Mawile would have been knocked out as he decides to not let Keldeo take any damage, and quite frankly, at this point, all I'm doing is just trying to get Keldeo to 50%, because that's exactly the amount of HP I needed at in order for Dialga to be able to KO it with Dragon Claw, because I am a mixed Dialga with Flash Cannon and Dragon Claw, just for a Calm Mind Keldeo. As Kyurem comes in, goes for the Shadow Claw, I'm able to get some damage off on him as well, and turns out the Shadow Claw doesn't even KO my Mawile, so Mega Mawile's bulk is really, really coming through at this point, and yeah, not only is Mawile able to take out the Torterra, get a nice chunk off on the Keldeo to where all I need is a little bit more damage in order for my Dragon Claw to take it out, but Kyurem also goes down in the process, so this is, quite frankly, just kind of looking like Dialga is going to easily clean up the game. As he goes into Keldeo, I already knew I have to go into my Dialga as I want to get up the Trick Room, and even if Dialga can't, Banded Zygarde will be able to win the game with 1,000 Arrows. I'm a very slow Banded Zygarde set, as at this point, I'm like, okay, I'll eat up any hit, chew my Chople Berry, and get up the Trick Room as he goes for Secret Sword, and doesn't proc my berry. And I was like, wait, what? That's, well, not only did I screw up the Omastar, I screwed up the Dialga too. I have a Pinch Berry instead of the Chople Berry, and I have Dragon Pulse instead of Dragon Claw, so yeah, my attempts at changing the team did not apparently take. Well, nonetheless, with my Pinch Berry, I'm like, well, I know I can go into Zygarde, take any Secret Sword that the Keldeo wants to go for, and with the Trick Room up, I will be able to outspeed this thing, and a Banded 1,000 Arrows will be able to knock it out, and worst case scenario, I bring my Dialga in later in the game, it procs its berry due to rocks, and then I will be able to take whatever hit the Gardevoir wants to go for. So that's why I decided to switch my Dialga out into the Zygarde at that point. Just kind of made a little bit more sense to have my Dialga be able to proc its berry later as opposed to just going down to another Secret Sword. As he does hard switch into his Gardevoir, that 100% dies to 1,000 Arrows. That crit I don't think it mattered. I don't think it mattered at all because I am a very, very slow Zygarde, and that is a banded 1,000 arrows. I would have been able to KO it in the next turn anyway. Keldeo comes in, that thing is going to go down very easily to a banded 1,000 arrows, and my Zygarde will be able to win the game. So we end the 3DS era with a banded Zygarde going for 1,000 arrows, and yeah, I mean, quite frankly, can't say that I'm upset at all about not having to play on DS anymore, but that was still a fun season overall. I mean, all things considered, even though I really wasn't like trying, I wasn't like too invested in the season as it were, I still had fun. I was still enjoying using some Uber's Mons. I made some less than ideal transactions just to get to use some Mons that I enjoyed throughout the generation, particularly Necrozma and Mawile. Well, Mawile I drafted from the beginning, but I did trade for Necrozma just because this is a final send-off to Mega Mawile and Necrozma, both of whom well, Mega Mawile for sure won't be in Swish, but Necrozma as well has a very solid chance of not being in Sword and Shield. So yeah, this is a final goodbye to those guys, and thank you all to everyone who enjoyed the season. Hopefully it wasn't too cringy. I mean, at times it definitely was, but nonetheless, hope you guys enjoy the ride. Thank you for supporting me to this point, and I will see you guys all when Swish comes out. So like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.